Well, everybody, one of the things I love about my work with CPYU is traveling and getting to meet new people. And a couple of years ago, I was able to head out to the West Coast, Orange County. Were we in Orange County, Dylan? Is that where we were?
Yeah, Orange County at Mariners Church.
Mariners Church in Orange County. And one of my friends, Doug Fields, invited a bunch of us out for a gathering of youth workers for his Download Youth Ministry group, and had great conversations with people. And I had this wonderful encounter in the doorway. I remember it being like a big garage door had been lifted on the side
Yeah,
of the
that's
building
right.
at Mariners Church. And it was a break or something, or we were both ducking out of seminars. I don't know what it was. And Dylan
Probably both.
Manley, with that,
I said it was probably a little bit of both.
yeah, a little bit of both. So Dylan Manley and I had this great conversation, and it was one of those where when you have these encounters, at least this happens for me, it was just an instant connect. I just felt like we were on the same page. We have the same love for the Lord, the same desire to teach the scriptures, the same desire to see kids come to faith, and the same desire to see our youth ministry world actually become a world of depth and
Yeah.
leading kids to depth. So I thought it'd be great to reconnect with Dylan and have our folks meet Dylan. You're down in Denton, Texas.
That's correct. Yeah, up in the North Dallas area, it's a little town called Denton, and been here for just under a year. But yeah, it's great. We love it here in Texas.
Now I have to ask you this. I didn't think about this before we actually set this up, but I can't remember. Did we ever discuss whether or not you're a Cowboys fan?
Yes, painfully I am, and I know you and I have a discrepancy there.
Oh yeah,
No love lost, but it's I'm used to pain as a Cowboys fan.
yeah. I will just tell you as an Eagles fan, I cringe every time they play the Cowboys because I just think it's gonna really go bad for the Eagles. But
Well,
we'll see.
if it's any consolation, I feel the same way toward the Eagles. I'm like, oh gosh, this is the game. We're gonna get beat. So
Yeah, well, that's good to know. But we do share this love for youth ministry and seeing kids
yeah.
come to faith. Would you talk a little bit about what you're doing down there in Denton, and even not just what you're doing at the church, but I want you to talk about your shirt.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I'm in Denton, Texas. I've been in Texas my entire life. I'm a Texas boy, and I am in my 20th year of student ministry. So I've been doing this a very long time. I started when I was 18 years old, and just never got out of it. And so I've learned a lot, obviously, over the years, and have been able to use those things, hopefully use them anyway, to help connect with teenagers and connect them with understanding theology, doctrine, and just how to be better disciple makers and disciples in their day-to-day life. And then about a decade ago, I started doing some speaking engagements. So I started traveling and doing evangelism, that kind of stuff, and I also do apologetics. And so again, I'm from Texas, so I'm wearing a shirt with my face on it that says "Jesus saves y'all." We got to put y'all in everything because we're in Texas. But the things I get to do besides just student ministry are getting to connect all over the really the nation with different groups and different folks and talk about apologetics, talk about evangelism, talk about discipleship, and how those three things really work together. And so the Lord has really blessed me a lot in those areas.
And Dylan, just so people know, you actually go by, what is it, the Bearded Apologist?
Yeah, Bearded Apologetics is my website, and I go by the Bearded Apologist. And so
Okay.
I go by a lot of different names.
Yeah. I think we all do, depending on who we're with, but we won't go
That's
down there.
correct. Yeah.
So, talk a little bit about, we had that conversation about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago in Orange
Mm-hmm.
County, but your exposure to CPYU came before that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So my first exposure to CPYU was probably back in 2000 or 2001 when I was just starting out in ministry. And I was at a conference. I think it was National Youth Workers Conference. I'm not sure if that's what it was called then or whatever, the YS, whatever it was called. And I remember you were doing a breakout at that particular conference. And I went. It was in Charlotte, North Carolina, was where we were. And I went and sat in your breakout and was just blown away by some of the cultural things you talked about and the things that CPYU offered and how they had this sort of resource pool that was so much greater than what I knew, and I was young, but even being young in student ministry, the kids that I had in my ministry were going through things that even I didn't quite understand yet, and I wasn't that far removed. And so I was exposed to CPYU there, and I remember y'all had a table too, and I went and I gathered all the free stuff I could do and just shoved it in my bag, and I took it home. And this was really before the advent of everything being online, and so physical copies and all that stuff. And so I just began to use it and kind of use it to not only talk to students but also talk to parents. And so I've been using CPYU stuff for going on 19, 20 years now, and it has gotten better every year.
Thanks for sharing that. One of the things I try to do is let our ministry partners who, and I say this all the time, can't really go on the road with us and meet folks like you and sit and listen to your story and hear a little bit about the impact. This is helpful for them, to hear this. And I know I hear this from a lot of youth workers that the stuff we're doing actually, is helpful. Is there anything in particular over the years that you found to be more valuable than other things? I know you've tracked with us for quite some time.
Yeah. There's a lot of things. Number one, just the amount of resources and blog posts and access to different articles that y'all have on your website that are just free, that, oftentimes when parents will email or text me about something that's going on in the life of their student, I will oftentimes take them straight to that page and say, hey, here's an article that's really great on this, or here's a blog, or here is a podcast, something you can listen to. So that is, I think, a massive one. But the one for us, I think, that has been the most meaningful, and this is not just in this church, but every church that I served in, is the monthly parent newsletter. We've been a subscriber to that for a long time. I've been a subscriber for as long as I can remember, and as long as it's been available, I guess, for me. And man, we send that out every month, and the information that is in there is just so good. And it helps me as a student pastor to communicate to students, to kind of know where they are, to see the trends that they're on. Because now I'm an old guy in student ministry. I'm considered old, and at least by my students.
If you're old, what am
I? Well, let's not go there.
Okay.
But I'll use that to connect with students to find out what they're listening to, but I'll also share that with parents, obviously, each month, and say, hey, just be aware this is what the cultural trends look like for your students. But even, I think the most important part of all that is just being able to have access to knowledge that I wouldn't have otherwise. And being able to use that has been a really effective tool, not only as a student pastor, but also as a parent myself, able to kind of help start having those conversations with my children.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. And you probably don't want to listen to this, Dylan, but with this current, coronavirus pandemic, we just thought we're going to, because I know you paid for a subscription and it's minimal for the parent page, but we decided on a month-to-month basis, as this is going on, let's just get it out there and let people just, distribute it in their churches for free, because we know parents are really,
that's great.
They're at a loss in many ways, and they've got all this time now. And so we want to be able to resource them as best as we can. So, hey, we really, I
love that. That's great.
We appreciate you, and we appreciate what you do, what you're doing with students there, what you're doing to serve the church more widely, especially youth workers with the apologetics. Any final words before I cut you off? I'll be like a mean Eagles fan and just cut you off.
That sounds about right. I just want to say to all the folks who have given and who are giving to CPYU, the donors, the private givers, whatever, thank y'all for what you do, because it does mean a lot to me personally, from my own walk as a student pastor and as a father, but it also just means so much to the parents that we interact with, engage with, and really, my belief is that discipleship and spiritual growth begins at home, and that's where it's going to have the most concrete foundation. And so this is a way that we can say, hey, parents, we know this is hard sometimes, but here's a resource. And so for all of you who have given and continue to give, man, thank you from the bottom of my heart, because it helps me as a student pastor, a father, and someone trying to communicate to parents of students to let them know, hey, these are the resources that are available. So thank y'all.
You just went to the top of my list as the nicest Cowboy fan in the world. So thank you.
All right. Great.
Thanks, Dylan. Blessings to you. I'll let you go.
All right. Thanks, Walt.